So how are psychics different from one another?
So the way that psychics are different from one another, I want to answer it two different ways. So one way that psychics are different from one another is in their style. So you might have one person who is more whimsical in how they talk about things. You might have another psychic who is very much by the book, very concrete, not abstract at all. So people's individual styles, that's a lot of times clients will connect with that. And I might, as a psychic, give the very same information to somebody I'm reading, and I can't connect with them, but another psychic who has a different style but tells them the same information may be able to connect with them. You know, sometimes it's their clothing, sometimes it's, you know, that psychic's background. So so style is important. The other way that psychics are different from one another is that we all get our psychic information through what we call the clairs. And so it's like clairsentience, clairvoyance, clairaudience, claircognizance. And so of those senses, each of us has a primary sense and a secondary sense and sometimes a third sense. So let's say for one psychic, their clairvoyant is their primary sense, and then they're clairaudient, and then they feel, they're clairsentient. Another psychic might have their clairsentience, they feel, that's the strongest sense, and then they're clairvoyant. So I know it sounds a little complicated, but it is because our different primary senses are different. It can again be the difference between being able to connect with somebody and not being able to connect with someone.
And how do you prepare for a reading as a psychic?
So how I prepare for a reading as a psychic is I usually don't, for one thing, I don't eat very much before the reading. So if I have a day where I call them my reading days, I usually have very light meals and wait until after I finish my readings before I have my full meal. I usually try to keep what's going on in my house quiet and sort of sedate. Well, it depends. There's two different types of readings, but for my tarot readings, I try to keep things really quiet. I'll meditate in the morning, and I might listen to New Age music, and that's for tarot, so that I'm really in my body. The other way I prepare for mediumship readings, it's different. For mediumship readings, you want to be like really revved up, because you're connecting to the other side, and it's all based on energy. And so if you're vibrating at a higher level, faster level, you're able to connect easier to the other side. So how I would prepare for a mediumship reading is I would try to be consolidated within myself, not scattered. But I also might turn on Rolling Stones or, something like that.
And how do you suggest a client prepare for the reading?
So for a tarot reading, well, for both the mediumship and the tarot, I always feel come with an open mind. So if you're compelled to this reading is only going to be a good reading if you tell me what I want to hear. If it happens the way I expect it to happen. So I always tell clients, just let the reading be what it's going to be, and don't, just because you got a reading from somebody else and it turned out that way, or that's what their style was, when you come to me, just keep a very open mind. And that way the information flows, because otherwise the client can block the reading, they can block the information. The other thing in terms of preparing for a tarot reading is I like people to come pretty much knowing questions that they want answers to. So I divide my readings in half, and the first half of the reading I do most of the talking without any input from clients. But in the second half, I ask clients to, literally come with a list of questions, and kind of the rule of thumb is whatever you think about a lot, whatever you're kind of noodling around about in your head, in your mind, and you just would like to have, input on it or an answer. So that is for tarot. For mediumship, in order to prepare, I usually say to connect with your loved ones either through a picture, or say, I'm going to be getting this reading at 7 o'clock on Thursday night, and I really want you to show up. So, and to any one who's on the other side, do it with everybody. Now, that doesn't assure you that that person is going to come through, but it's a good way to increase your chances that spirit's going to come through.
And what is the difference between a mediumship and a psychic reading?
So the difference between a mediumship reading and a psychic reading is that a psychic reading is pretty much the earth plane. So it's pretty much our physical world here that we're dealing with. And it is the aura around that person we're reading. And also there's this whole interesting line of thought with this, where a good way to tell if it's a spirit reading versus, or your let's see, I'm not doing this one very well. There's different types of energy between the two, and one way if you're dealing with the spirit world versus the physical world here is if that information, if it feels like it's intelligent and responds to your questions or interacts with you at all. So if I'm getting information and I'm trying to find out if it's intelligent, if they ignore me, if I'm asking them questions and they ignore me, then I know that's more the physical psychic world. And so for the physical world, it's the client's aura that we're tuning into. With the spirit world, it's a completely different energy. It's very